Yay da da do da, yay da 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 do da, yay da 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 do da da da, yay da da yo da, yay da 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 yo da, yay da 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 da, yay da da da. Yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da 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 yay yay da da yay da yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da da yay da 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 yay da 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 yay da da da.
Hello, my friends. Shabbat Shalom. We're gathered here tonight on a rather unusual and painful Shabbat this week. And so before we start our service, we are going to have an extra little pre-service. So we'll be able to hear from some of our elected officials, some of our partners in faith, and memorialize what is happening before we start the service proper. And so, with that in mind, I would first like to begin by calling on Lisa Beth to make a few pre-flight announcements.
Thank you. Believe it or not, we do this regardless of what is happening overseas. We want you to just stop for a moment and take a look around at the closest exit. A little Vanna White for you. The bathrooms are straight outside and to the right, along with water. And please join us immediately following services for a special oneg, generously and lovingly sponsored by Rabbi Rosner and his wife, Rebbitzin Noemi Taylor Rosner. Thank you and Shabbat Shalom.
May I now ask, if you are speaking tonight, if you would take, in the first round of speakers, if you would take a seat in these rows here so that you're ready when we're ready to call upon you. Okay, so tonight we're going to begin with the singing of two anthems, because we feel tonight it is important to honor the United States, where we are citizens, and to honor Israel, who is under attack, and where our sisters and brothers in faith bleed and are held hostage. And so we will begin tonight, as many of you who attended public school somewhere in Orange County will remember, with the Star-Spangled Banner. Please rise and face the colors. Members of the uniformed services may come to may salute. Everyone else, hands over your hearts.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Now to lead us in Hatikva, our cantor, Emerita Shula.
I'd like to invite everyone to join. If you don't know the words, you can just hum along or lala or whatever, and think about what it's about. It's about as long as there's a breath left in us, we will never stop hoping for peace. So as you hum along, if you don't know the words, have that thought. That's all that counts. Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homiya ulefatei mizrach kadima Ayin leTzion tzofia Od lo avda tikvatenu Hatikva bat shnot 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים
You may be seated. It is my honor and privilege to call upon Mike Munzing, Mayor Pro Tem of Aliso Viejo, and Maxon Duncan, Council Member for Aliso Viejo, to address the community.
Hello, everyone. I wish it were better circumstances, that is for sure. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem of Aliso Viejo. It is a great honor to be here. I was very honored to be invited by the rabbi. Thank you, sir. It's difficult being an elected official in times like these. We've got folks who believe all kinds of crazy things in our country. But as for me, this is coming from me, I was raised with a father who was a Presbyterian pastor. I've lived my whole life in the church. I was at Auschwitz when I was 11 to go through the tour there, and it affected me, and it's always been with me. I was in Israel at 16 on a tour with my father. So the Holy Land is dear, very dear to me in my heart, and the Jewish people are very, very dear to me. And this is a tough time. And this is a time where I know the city, the elected officials, are working closely with the Sheriff's Department to make sure that everyone within our reach, within our influence, are safe and protected. And I stand boldly behind that to support all of you in our community to keep us safe. This is not time for any political aspect of it. It's just purely people are being attacked in the world. The Jewish community is once again being attacked in the world, and we need to do everything we can to stand with you. As a city, myself individually, to stand with you. I've only wish I was younger and could go over and help in some way, but I'm getting old and I can't do that. I've been too close to death too many times lately. So it is hard for me, but with many, many prayers and a lot of phone calls and a lot of encouragement to those who can influence things, I stand with you wholeheartedly. And if there's anything you need, please let the city know, and within reason, we will try to accommodate that. But we are encouraging the Sheriff's Department and the law enforcement to up their efforts to keep you all safe, to keep the temple safe, and we're here for you. God bless you all. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. Good evening, everybody. My name is Max Duncan. I am your representative with City Council here in Aliso Viejo, and I reiterate every one of Mike's words. You said it very well. I also want to not make too much of a light of this evening and this day, but last night I did watch You're So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah with my my 14-year-old daughter. And one thing I learned from this movie was, the Jewish community is very tightly knit, and you guys party, which I hope I could be a part of sometime. This is my first time being in a synagogue in a very long time, and I wish it was under better circumstances. But as Mike mentioned, I'm not very good at the geopolitical issues, but I am very good at knowing good people when I see them, and I know the Jewish community are some of the best folks out there, and I stand with you as well. I stand by your side, and I want to thank Rabbi Rosner for asking me to come down today. And again, I'll try to keep this brief, but I know today is a day of rage. I think some people are calling it a day of jihad against good people like you in this room, and nothing saddens me more, and quite frankly, nothing angers me more. I wish there was more that I could do, but in my capacity, please know that I have your back. I will always support you, and thank you very much for having us out here tonight. God bless you all.
Thank you, gentlemen. And we are so appreciative of your taking the time tonight on such short notice. It is now my privilege to call Arti Chopra and the representatives of our Hindu faith community.
Good evening, friends. Shabbat Shalom and Namaste. My name is Arti Chopra. I'm a member of the Indian Hindu American community from Irvine, and I have some community members and leaders from our local Orange County Hindu community here to stand in solidarity with the people of Israel and our Jewish friends. We are here to express our sincere condolences and prayers, and really do our best to express what it means to be in solidarity, for Indian Hindus to be in solidarity with our Jewish sisters and brothers. Just like all of you, we were awoken with the most horrifying, shocking atrocities last Saturday morning. And it was ironic because in the Hindu American community, we were just beginning to celebrate a huge legislative win for the civil rights of Hindu Americans in California. So it's a very bittersweet juxtaposition, demonstrating the duality of life. We were absolutely horrified with the images that were starting to come out on social media. And as much as we tried to look away, we knew we couldn't look away this time around. Many of you may or may not know this, but India, our country of origin, and where the majority Hindus live in the world, just like the majority Jewish people live in Israel, there are many similarities that would make us like sister countries of origin. India is home to Jewish communities since over 2,000 years, and India is the only country where our Jewish friends have never been persecuted. And we stand proud here as representatives of our Indian Hindu community to affirm that. One of the world's oldest standing synagogues in its original form is known as the Bardesi Synagogue in southern India in the city of Cochin. It is exactly 455 years old, built in 1568 AD. After the destruction of the Second Temple, the first Jewish principality in the world was Cochin, southern India, where the Hindu Maharaja gave them their own district to practice their faith and carry on their business of trading spices. Today, our presence here is a modern manifestation of that 2,000-year-old bond. We are proud to say that today, after the US, Israel's second most important bilateral ties are those with India. And also, many of you know that when the IDF, they finish their duty, they go straight to the beaches of Goa, India, to relax. We have a lot to learn from our Jewish friends in India. And there are many other details, but I think what's most important right now for us to express is how we have been called into action to stand in solidarity, and what does that look like since last Saturday morning? Immediately, the Hindu community started gathering on WhatsApp, like we all do, and we expressed our horrified shock because somewhere it hit us inside as well. Because like our Israeli and Jewish sisters and brothers, your Indian Hindu sisters and brothers have also been through the same persecution in our own ancestral land. We immediately started getting messages of solidarity rallies, and I'm proud to announce that within very few days, the majority of the Hindu community across the United States joined Israel solidarity rallies in cities like all over the Bay Area, Chicago, Houston, New York, and right here in Orange County in Irvine. I myself attended the Irvine rally at the JCC, at the JFED, and Peter Levy knows me well, and he knows that when I show up, the Indian Hindu community will stand behind and show up as well when you need it most. And the leaders behind me are a proud representation of that. I'm an alumni from UC Irvine, and I felt it, my calling and my duty, to join the UC Irvine rally the very next day. And I met with Rabbi, and I could see the shock in his eyes, and his voice had gone. But for students in particular, I knew we had to show up because there's something very troubling happening on our college and university campuses in America, and we need to start addressing hate as the next mental health pandemic, mental illness pandemic. And we need to do it together. I also took it upon myself when I got the emails from the ADL to write emails to the colleges that had held rallies against Israel. And I'm proud to say that I emailed every single one of them. And I've already started hearing back from some of the leaders of those colleges and universities. Friends, this is the least we can do. And yesterday when I got the text message from Dear Rabbi, I knew right away what we had to do. And so I'll hand it over to our next speaker, and please know that your Indian Hindu sisters and brothers stand in complete solidarity with our Jewish and Israeli sisters and brothers. Namaste, shalom. I now introduce the president of our Irvine Hindu Temple, Mr. Deepak Sharma.
Good evening. I think Rarthi has already said everything that I would want to say. All I can say is that we can feel the pain that many of you are going through, because we also have neighbors in India that are not exactly neighborly, just like Israel. One of the things I did want to mention as the president of the Irvine Hindu Temple, we call it Mandir, we do something called Shanti Path, which is a prayer of peace. And I will talk to our priests to find a day that where we can do it. It's about half an hour to 45 minutes. I would welcome all of you to attend. And the hospitality received over here today, I hope we can give the same hospitality to all of you. It's about 15 to 20 minutes from this location, so please do come. We'll keep it in the either on a Saturday or a weekday in the evening, so you can come and see the mandir and also be a part of the peace prayer. And all the best to all of us. Like Aarti said, all of both Hindus and the Jewish community goes through the hatred that we all see, and we have to remain strong and ensure that things can get better over time. Thank you.
I would now like to call upon Priya Raghuram for her words. And if you notice, we represented in solidarity also by wearing our traditional ethnic Indian attire in the colors of the Israeli flag. And even I matched my bindi accordingly. Combination of the colors of the Israeli flag and the Indian flag. There are various ways we can show solidarity, and we can be fashionable also while we're at it. So without further ado, I hand it over to Priya Raghuram.
Good evening, and thank you, Rabbi Rosner, for inviting us today. This has been a very heavy week for all of us. As we are gathered here to pray, to mourn, and to process what has happened over the past week, I think it's also time for us to dig deep into our faith and be more rooted than ever in our spiritual values. Let us be firm in our commitment to human rights. And when we talk about human rights, the most fundamental human right is the right to religious freedom. And nobody has the right to take that away from anybody else. Growing up in India, I've had the privilege of calling many Jewish Indian my friends and neighbors. So this hits very personal for me. I'm also aware of the fact that all of the immigrant communities in India, whether they are the Zoroastrian Iranis or the Jewish community or the Tibetan Buddhists or the Sri Lankans who came into India, they have not just survived, but they have thrived and blossomed and flourished because they have received care and protection not from the constitutional laws, not from democratic values of which say right to religious freedom and all that jazz, but they cannot be implemented really. They have thrived because of the Hindu human values, the ethical value that every human being has the fundamental right to religious freedom. Freedom from persecution on the basis of their religious rights. Freedom to practice their religion openly and joyously without any threats of violence and calls for genocide. Freedom to be able to speak their language, celebrate their culture, and respect for all places of worship, regardless of which religion that is. These fundamental core values have ensured that our immigrant communities have thrived and flourished and grown. But sadly, those rights are not accorded to any of us here in this room. So we have to be very firm in our response today, both at an individual level and a collective level. The time to be silent is long past us. It's long gone. And I stand with all my Hindu brothers and sisters in strongly condemning any hate or violence against the Jewish community and the State of Israel. We also support the State of Israel in its act of self-defense against these barbaric and heinous acts of violence and calls for jihad. Most important of all, our strongest condemnation is for all those who have remained silent, those educational institutions that Aarti pointed out, those students who gleefully attended meetings celebrating the loss of innocent lives, and most importantly, those who are armed with wily tactics, who are able to spin false narratives and create fake storylines which paint these terrorists and barbarians into humanitarians and victims themselves. Collectively, together, we must hold them all accountable and answerable. Please know that you are not alone. Please know that you are not without friends or allies. The Hindu American community across the nation, and actually Hindus from all walks of world, all parts of the world, and especially from India, stand firmly with the State of Israel and the Jewish community in this time of need. You have our hearts and our prayers, and we hope for a very swift and speedy and a resolute end to this humanitarian crisis. Thank you.
And we have one of our Irvine Hindu Temple's most dedicated volunteers, Mr. Sanjay Gupta.
Thank you.
Hari Om, Namaste, Shalom. I am here impromptu, so I will not talk about what happened. It was barbaric, historic, no reason for doing what was done, but I want to talk about what needs to be done. Okay. This really angers my heart because we've been going through this a lot. I would request the Jewish community to take a look and see where their money is being donated to these institutions, because that's where the nest of snakes is being, brooded. So in order for us to put this to an end, we need to go to the root. And one of those is all that funding, all that money that's being given to people who are misusing it. Okay? So I'm solidly with you. Sorry, I break up when I hear these kind of things.
We have Ms. Vidula Vajramushti. She lives right here in Aliso Viejo, so we would be happy to designate her as our Aliso Viejo Hindu American contact for your temple. And then at the very end, we have Mr. Ganpati Mudugar, and he is the best of Hindu and American. And we all stand in solidarity. Once again, thank you for this opportunity, Rabbi, and to allow us to speak today during the most painful time to your congregation. Thank you. Namaste. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, my friends. It is my honor to call up our last speaker this evening, Becky Lamaka, Director of Grief Support, and the team from O'Connor Mortuary.
Thank you, Rabbi. I'm here with Joe Fitzgerald, our president and CEO of O'Connor, and Jeff Turner, our vice president. Shabbat Shalom. Over the past week, our world looks so bleak, and our hearts ache with unbearable grief. Grief for the torture and murder of Jewish men, women, children, and babies at the hands of terrorists. Grief for too many misguided youth in the US and across the world. Grief bubbling up from our past as the hate toward the Jewish community opens old wounds. We struggle to make meaning out of our grief and out of the last several days. So we gather. We gather as community to help us remember that God did not intend for us to go this alone. We gather in community to support one another. We gather in community with the hope of it providing healing transformation. As we reel in the math, the multifaceted grief we're experiencing, many of you here tonight may feel helpless, you may feel isolated, and you may feel that the world has turned its back on you. When Rabbi Rosner and I spoke this morning, I said to him that my presence here tonight felt so insignificant in the midst of such a crisis. Then I thought about how we often talk with individuals about the power of presence when coming along someone who is grieving, something that is deeply rooted in your Jewish faith. Presence is a powerful gift. We've seen that tonight with the other speakers. The most important act someone can do for a grieving person is to simply show up. So please know that you are not alone. We stand with you. We hold this sacred space to allow you to share your intense grief, and we grieve with you. We cannot take away your pain, yet we are here. We support you, and we will remain present. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our speakers tonight. Before we light our Shabbat candles and begin our service, the way that we do every week, war or no war, we're going to light this special menorah. This is not a Hanukkah menorah. This is a temple menorah. This is the lamp that was supposed to have burned in the two temples, not this exact one, of course, but this shape of lamp is supposed to have burned in the Temple of Jerusalem. It is officially forbidden to mourn on Shabbat, and so we cannot light candles in honor of those who have died during a Shabbat service. But we can light this temple-style menorah, and we can say to ourselves, Ner Adonai Nishmat Adam, the light of God is the soul of humanity. I would like to invite up our current president and our past presidents, all past presidents of this merged congregation or of the separate presidents who predated the merger on either side, Bethel and Eilat, to join us up here together. I'll ask everyone to stand. I cannot ask for a moment of silence officially in mourning. I will ask for a moment of silence out of respect for the souls of all humankind embodied in this light. Ner Adonai Nishmat Adam, a spark of divinity burns within all of us. I ask you to please remain silent as we reflect on these lights for a moment before we light the Shabbat candles. We will continue with the Shabbat candle blessing, which is found on page 1. Please remain standing if you can. If you need to sit at this point, you can sit. If you have family members or friends who are currently in harm's way, please come forward and participate in the lighting of the Shabbat lights together. These lights are supposed to bring peace on our homes, and we ask now that they bring peace on those who are not at home this evening because they are in the field.
Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlikneh shel Shabbat. Amen.
To those of you who are joining us from home or from your hospital beds or from overseas, perhaps on an American aircraft carrier, we wave to you and we welcome you as if you are here with us. We are on page 18 in your blue books. If you wish to follow along, we will now pick up our regular service because it is Shabbat, war or no war. Page 18.
Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela shamo v'zacho b'dibur echad hishmianu El HaMiuchad Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad L'Shem U'Tiferet V'Litila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Mikdash melech melucha komitzei mitoch hafecha rav lach shevet yemek habacha vehu yachamo alaychem lecha dodi Likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabila hitoreri kiva orech kumi ori דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך מה נגלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה.
Continue with Chatzi Kaddish on 22. If it is your custom to sit, you may sit. If it is your custom to stand, you may stand. 22.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברה קברותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו יהי שמי רבו מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ומרו.
You with Baruch Hu on 23.
Yai da 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 yai da da yai da 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 yai da yai yai da yai da da yai da 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 ba Adonai Hamivorah 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 Va'alam Hamivorah
You may be seated. We continue reading together in English on 25, page 25. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Page 27.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amecha ahavta Amcha ahavta משפטים אותנו למדת עמך למדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו ניששיח בחוקיך ונזמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ויאמרנו ובהם נגיע יומם ולילה נגיע יומם ולילה אל תסיר ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל עמו ישראל.
Page 29 for Shema. You may remain seated if it is your custom. You may rise if it is your custom. 29.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם Adonai Elohechem Emet. We will continue on page 37 with Michamocha.
Yai dai dai dai, yai dai yai dai dai dai, yai dai yai dai yai yai, yai dai yai dai dai. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai yai dai yai dai, yai dai yai dai yai yai, yai dai dai, yai dai yai dai dai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot oseh fele nora tehilot oseh fele. Yai dai 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 dai yai dai yai dai 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 yai dai yai dai yai dai yai vai yai dai dai Yadadai, yadadai. Malchut harav anecha, bokeh yam lifnei Moshe zeli, amru v'yanu. Adonai yimloch leolam vayed, v'ne'emar kifad Adonai Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, baruch ata Adonai, gal Yisrael.
Amen. Page 39. Page 39.
Hashkivein Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'ham lechaim. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrei nu lechaim ushmor tzeiteinu uvoenu lechaim uleshalom me'ata v'ad olam. Baruch ata Adonai. Baruch ata Adonai hapore sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim v'al kol yoshvei tevel.
Now we ask you, my friends, to rise for Vishamru. This will be followed by about 3 minutes or so of silent prayer. You can use the words in the book, you can meditate, you can use this time to speak to the divine. 41.
V'shamiru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת בדורתם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני אל השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, for all of Israel and all who inhabit the earth. O say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru, amen. Amen.
This next part may be a little longer than usual. It's time for us to turn our hearts and minds to those who are in need of healing or safety or support at this time. So as I point in your direction, if you have names of friends, family, loved ones, or people in our wider community or world in need of healing, I invite you to add them at this time. Kinderbat Surah and Surah Bat Leah, and of course we add all of our sisters and brothers in Israel, all those serving in uniform, all those who were taken hostage. We add to those all of the uniformed men and women of allied countries, the United States, France, England, Germany, India, and all of the countries throughout the world who are siding with the State of Israel and their armed forces. We add those who are keeping us safe tonight, our law enforcement here and our security staff at the synagogue, and as always, those in our world without access to adequate housing or health care. Please join us on page 63.
Beirach avotenu mikor habracha li'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe berach imotenu mikor becha liavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
When someone dies in Judaism, we say, may their memories be for blessing. Does anyone know what we say when someone is murdered? Adonai yakum damam. May God cause their blood to rise up from the ground and wreak vengeance upon their murderer. The words, blood to rise up, come from the story of the brothers Cain and Abel from this week's Torah portion, Bereshit. Adam and Eve, the first humans in our Torah narrative, are expelled from the Garden of Eden, and they set up camp east of there. They have children named Cain and Abel. Cain is jealous of his brother Abel and conspires to commit the world's first murder. When God sees that Cain has committed this murder, God confronts Cain and dresses him down, saying, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. The story, the parable in our Torah, is here to ask us this question: is humanity doomed to an unending cycle of violence and bloodshed? Are war and murder our inevitable nature? Or may we overcome the human instinct for revenge? Israel has been attacked, and we are frightened. We are angry. We are sad. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. It took courage to step through those doors this evening, and I honor your courage. The truth is, we have emotional whiplash. We just finished the high holidays. A few weeks ago, we remember, just recently, the discussion about protests about a judicial overhaul in Israel. That seems like 1,000 years ago, and all of a sudden, it has been replaced with a Spielbergian battle between light and darkness, like that. On my way to the rally at the JCC on Tuesday, someone walking with me in a group said, hey, I guess we're all in the same boat now. And a few weeks ago, the funny thing is, this person would have said, if I'd asked them about their relationship with Israel, they would have used words from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. They would have said, it's more nuanced than that. But it turns out that in the face of conflict, we are forced to choose a side. And there is little room now for discussion. Over the past week, our fight or flight reflexes have been activated. I have been asked questions by members of this community about the deployment of security assets, about patrol frequencies and blast radiuses, and I was honorably discharged, and so I do not need to answer those questions anymore, but I will do my best. All of us will do your best, our best, to ensure that we work with law enforcement to make sure we are as safe as we can be. Some of the things people requested that we do, I would be shocked if I found on many military bases in this country. But I understand this building is filled many days of the week with children. For our part, your community has been in communication with law enforcement. We've been dealing with, of course, pastoral concerns, and we've been raising funds for security and for Magen David Adom, the Israeli Red Cross, for lack of a better term, Red Star. But while we do that, we are concerned about the blurring of the lines between news, opinion, and entertainment. We feel that real, solid journalism, real reporting is important, but it is harder and harder to find, and we have to make more and more of an effort. We may feel that some people listening to this news are enjoying it just a little bit too much. We may be worried that this conflict will spread, and we're surprised by what political leaders and college professors across this country are saying about Israel. And if they're saying it about Israel, do they make a distinction between Israelis and the Israeli administration and American Jews? We ask ourselves all the time. Some of us fear that a relative or friend may be captured, held hostage, may be killed. We all dread that conversation. And we fear that a regional conflict in Israel could blow up into an existential war leading to a worldwide final solution. But I am here to reassure you that that will not happen. Classic American author and legendary figure John Steinbeck explored the question of whether humans are doomed to murder and violence or we can rise above in his 1952 novel, East of Eden. Part of the way through the novel, farmers Adam and Samuel and their adopted relative Lee are discussing the story of Cain and Abel. And Lee says that he comes from the Chinese tradition, and Chinese scholars were baffled by this story. They wanted to know what the moral was, and so they studied Hebrew for years. Rabbis were consulted. Lee was obsessed with one verse in particular. What does God mean when God is yelling at Cain for murdering his brother? Here is what God says. My eyes are not as good as they used to be. Elohim tetiv sehetiv ve'im elo tetiv lepetach atat rovetz ve'elecha teshukato ve'atati mishal bo. Surely, if you do right, there is hope of uplift. But if you do not, sin couches at your door. Its urges towards you, but the entirety of Steinbeck's novel, his greatest work, was based on how you translate the word timshol. Lee says that the word, if it's translated one way, means that sin will overcome us and we have no free will, no ability to make a better choice in the future. But Lee says that it should be translated. Does anyone remember? Anybody remember? You will overcome it. Thou mayest overcome it. And in so doing, in saying thou mayest or you may, God is essentially saying that we humans have a choice and a responsibility in how we act. The rabbis that Lee consulted apparently gave him a version of a classic rabbinic commentary from Ovadia ben Sforno, writing around 500 years ago in Italy, who was quoting the Talmud before him. He says, Ve'ata timshol bo, that phrase means, it is within your power, human beings, all human beings, to overcome the evil urge present in you, thanks to your aspect of Tselem Elohim, the spark of divinity that is present in every human being. But tonight, these words are cold comfort. For many of us, not all of us, but for many of us, this is a moment we have been warned about our entire lives. We were warned. The human beings around you are bloodthirsty. They are sharpening their knives, just waiting to kill us, as they did in Mainz and Pittsburgh and in Auschwitz. Rabbi Bradley Shavit Artson, some of you remember him, used to travel around the country, and he would, when he was speaking, he would walk into a room of Jews and say, without any explanation, could it happen here? Could it happen here? And everyone listening to him in the room knew what it was. By it, of course, he meant another crusade, another pogrom, another Holocaust. Could it happen here? As Jews, we think a lot about the Holocaust. The expulsion from North Africa, the Jews who left North Africa, or Ethiopia, Yemen. We repeat stories of our persecution in our children's cartoons. How many of you remember the origin story of the Mauskowitz family? Not Moskowitz, Mauskowitz. The protagonists of Steven Spielberg's Fievel movies? Remember? They were chased out of their homes during Hanukkah by Cossacks, by cat Cossacks, because he was a mouse. And they fled, and they came to America, where there was religious freedom and opportunity, where they would not be persecuted. And as we heard, our sisters and brothers in faith, and our civic leaders, and our representatives of our community organizations say this is a country founded on the freedom from being persecuted for your faith. But we still show those films. And for adults, when you're no longer able to watch Fievel, or you can still watch it, but if it no longer speaks to you in the same way, as an adult, you can watch another Spielberg film, Schindler's List. We marinate in this. And for rabbis, every year at Yom Kippur, we retell the story of the martyrdom of Rabbi Akiva, his skin scraped off with combs as he died reciting the Shema, the words of faith that we said together earlier, giving his life to stop the Romans from stamping out the Jewish people. But despite the best efforts of the Nazis, the Jewish people were not wiped out in the gas chambers. Despite the efforts of the Crusaders, the Jewish people were not killed all in the Rhineland. Despite the efforts of the Romans, we did not all get wiped out in the diaspora. We are still here. The Jewish people are still here. We are here now. We will be here tomorrow, and we will be here a millennium from now. Moreover, this week, throughout the world, networks of like-minded Jews and our friends of all faiths and none are joining together to condemn the horrific atrocities we have seen this week. It is my job as your rabbi to assure you that we can hope for a better future because of the people who took their time on a Friday night being called at the last minute and showed up for us. Our law enforcement, our civic officials, our sisters and brothers in faith, community leaders and business partners that have been calling with calls of solidarity and support. We often give in to the human negativity bias, but there are more people in this country who wish to help us than wish to hurt us. Because of this cooperation, we may look forward to a better future built on peace rather than fear and vengeance. Timshol, thou mayest. We mayest yet rise to the occasion. Nay, we are rising to the occasion. We are joined on the bima tonight by our hard-working board, who have been tirelessly attending to the needs of this community behind the scenes. We have been encouraged by the work of the Board of Rabbis, the Federation, the JCC, and the ADL that have risen to the occasion to denounce terrorism and barbarism and call the community together. Our staff has risen to the occasion at every level. From the top of our leadership pyramid to everyone who works in this facility, Jewish or not, at every level, who takes their lives in their hands every time they come to work in the morning or the evening. We thank you. I wish I could share everything that's been done behind the scenes, the depths of my appreciation, but alas, I cannot, because some of it is confidential, and also I would keep you here all night because my grandmother of blessed memory taught me to say thank you, and I would say thank you to each person in great detail. But some of you would like to eat eventually. I would like to thank all of you, because on this night, when we wanted to respond with fear and anger, we responded with gentleness and generosity. That is the Jewish way to respond. To use our minds and our hearts and to reach out to our society and to feel them reaching back in support of us. Steinbeck said once about Cain and Abel, on which he based East of Eden, and I quote, "Here is individual responsibility and the invention of conscience. You can, if you will, but it is up to you. You can, if you will." This little story from the Bible, he said, turned out to be one of the most profound in the world. I always felt it was, but now I know it is. You can, if you will. That sounds familiar to me. When I first read it, I couldn't figure out why. And then I was reminded of a song I sang in summer camp. Im tirtzu, ein zo agada, la 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 la, leotam chovshi be'artzenu, be'eretz Sion, Sion, Yerushalayim. If you will it, you can accomplish it. It is no dream. To be a free people in the land of Zion and Jerusalem. Words from Theodor Herzl, the visionary who dared say that Jews might feel at home in a democratic, modern Zion, the state of Israel. Alas, this Shabbat, the urge to scream Adonai Yakum Damam, may God grant revenge by the spilling of our enemies' blood, that urge is strong. We are afraid, and our urge is to attack. But such a violent sentiment feels out of place for such a peace-loving people as the Jews. Our tradition asks of us, God asks of us, as he asks of Cain, not to give in to cynicism about the human condition, and to remember that even though war may be necessary, peace is always more desirable than war. The days ahead will be hard, but the Jewish people will survive. This will be a marathon, not a sprint, and so it will draw on your endurance. But we have endured, we are enduring, and we will endure. When we ask ourselves, in this moment of darkness, of despair and of fear, dare we still hope? I say to you, Timshol, thou mayest. Shabbat Shalom, and Am Yisrael Chai. We will continue on 64. Please rise for Elena.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונה. מלך מלכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסי הארץ, משה יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. אלוהינו אינו אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך. אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין נאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Before we say the prayer praising the name of God in the face of loss, I will recite our community names, and then I will invite you to add the names of those who have died, whose memories you are marking tonight. This week, we mourn the recent loss of Melford Burns, husband of Susie Burns, and Eleanor Gulabau, mother of Richard. This week, we observe the following yard sites. It is our custom to go from last Sunday to this Shabbat, but if you observe the week going forward, please say the name of your loved one as we go around the room. Molly Alexander, Josephine Tucker Aronson, Louis Bleeman, Barney Bloom, William Bryan, Beatrice Dessel, Dorothy Goldberg, Leslie Heinel, David Janowski, Rose Jason, Wendy Klatzker, Harriet Kuhn, Louis Levy, Marshall Alper, Zachar Moldavsky, Mark Morse, Violet Olin, Clement Politis, Rosa Redlich, Joseph Reese, Edna Rosen, Morris Allen Rosenblum, Sandra Lee Roth, Isaac Rubenstein, Zuro Rudolph, Sean Jacob Sachs, Stanley Sachs, Leon Samueli, Ethel Schultz, Madeline Schwartz, Murray Seed, Murray Side, Pauline Shapiro, Claire Sherman, Izor Silverman, Judith Troke, Betty View, Tavus Yunesi, and Esther Zimmerman. We continue to mourn Martin Cole, Zita Gluskin, Judith Kovach, and Miriam Wellickson. Are there any names that I mispronounced? Please, it's very important to me that all the names are pronounced correctly. Is there anyone? Okay. I now ask you for additional names. One of my teachers once taught me that the Reform movement suggested that we have everyone stand together for Kaddish, because sometimes there are people who do not have relatives left to say Kaddish for them. So if you're comfortable, please rise and join in with the mourners on page 73 as we hold in our hearts all the names that were said and all that are unsaid. Yitzkadal v'yitzkadash Shemei Rabbah. Be'alama tivarach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei be'chayachon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Malch le'olam ulmei almaya yitzbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitzba'ar ve'yitzromam ve'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal Shemei Dekudsha B'rechu Le'ela min ko birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'el kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav Tuyaseh shalom aleinu v'el kol Yisrael v'el kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. You may be seated. It is now my honor to call upon the president of our congregation, Steve Blanc.
So, bit of a switch. I'm going to cover off on the announcements, but then I'm going to ask Brad Shapiro to come up and join us and say a few words. Just on a quick announcements, first of all, thank you to Carl Cedar for leading us in our Cantor Soloist, and thank you, Rabbi, and thank you all who have joined us from the Hindu temple in Irvine. You've made this service very special for us, and we appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Rosner and Naomi and Taylor Rosner, for sponsoring tonight's Oneg. We appreciate that. That will be after, of course, our service. And a special thank you to the board members who've joined me here on the Bima. I appreciate it very much. All details that I'll share with you will be available on the website. Torah study is available on Zoom on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. At the tomorrow morning service, our member Noam Artz, who just returned from Israel, will speak about his experience immediately after the Torah service. Rosh Chodesh is coming. Join us for the first one on October 16th at 9:30 a.m. Temple Bethel offers grief support in partnership with Vitas. The next group actually started on October 4th, but there is still space. Actually, I think it's closed. So we'll keep you abreast on further scheduling there. Temple Bethel welcomes back Dr. Bill Hoy, an end-of-the-life and bereavement expert who will share and reflect upon his own personal grief journey over the past 2 years and perspectives as one of the bereaved and all others as a bereaved professional. Please join us on November 7th. And Shabbat Shalom. So Brad, can you come up? Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. For those of you who saw me on Rosh Hashanah, this is the first time I've been here since I had that, that experience doing Hag. Anyway, just a little joke. Steve asked me to come up here today to talk a little bit about the campaign that the temple, the fundraising campaign that the temple's launching to raise funds for the security here at the temple and for Magan David Adam, which you all know is like the Israel Red Cross and really is the first responders in Israel. Before I do that, I've been thinking about this, I just want to digress for a moment and tell a little story. I'm sure everybody knows that this is that these heinous attacks occurred right around the same day as the 50th anniversary of the October War. So 50 years ago, when the October War broke out, I was a freshman in college, and I remember that I had these intense desire to do something, for Israel and to get involved. And at that time, the Jewish Agency was going around to college campuses around the country soliciting volunteers for people to come over and work in kibbutzim, to work the fields, because the soldiers were still mobilized for a long period of time. So I got caught up in that emotion, and I decided to do it. And it was a tremendous experience, and I dropped out of school, and my wife Kathy, who I had just started dating, we had to go a few months without seeing each other, but it really established my relationship with the state of Israel, with my friends and my family, and it's just one of the great experiences of my life. So this past week, here it is 50 years later, and another surprise attack on the state of Israel, and I've had flashbacks about those feelings, and I felt very frustrated that, I'm not 18 years old anymore. I can't just pick up and go, and even if I could, the situation is very different now. They're not looking for Americans to go over there and do nothing. But I don't mean that, but unless you have a special skill. But however, I am privileged and honored to carry on a legacy of Tikkun Olam in my family. My late great aunt and uncle established a charitable foundation, and I have the privilege of running it. So the one thing that I can do is to announce a lead gift for this fundraising campaign, and we've made a gift through this foundation. We've made a gift of $20,000 to Magan David Adam as sort of the kickoff gift, and I would like to invite all of you to help support this campaign for this I don't have to tell you how important it is, you all know, for our security, for the security of the state of Israel, for the first responders, and anyway, Shabbat Shalom.
My friends, the thank yous could go on all night, but I'm told that by someone that there will be some food afterwards. So I'm going to, knowing that we are Jews in a room and there's food behind us over there, I'm not going to keep you too long. We're going to conclude with a Don Olam on 191.
Adon Olam, Hashem Malach, B'terem kol Yitzir Nivra, Li'ed Nasa V'chefso kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'yacharei Kilod HaKol, Levado Imlo Nora, Vehu Haya, Vehu Hove, Vehu Yiyeh, Betifara, Vehu Echad, Ve'en Sheni, Lehamshilo, Lehachbira, Beli Reshit, Beli Tachlit, Velo Haoz, Ve'hamizra, Vehu Eli, Ve'chai Goali, Ve'tzuchev li, B'yetzara, Ve'hu Nisi, Umanos li, Menat Kosi, Beyom Ekra, V'yado, Afkir Ruchi, B'yed Ishan, Ve'a'ira, Ve'emaroche, Gaviati, Adonai li, Ve'lo ira. Shabbat Shalom.